So today, on this day, on this full moon day of Veshak, as we have gathered here, remembering, recollecting the Supreme Buddha, what we recollect, what we should recollect is what he left for us. The Buddha, after attaining enlightenment, so this is the day, most of you would be aware, but just reiterating that this is the day on which the Buddha, Bodhisattva Prince Siddhartha, was born in Lumbini. Then for 35 years later in Buddha Gaya, sitting under the Bodhi tree, he became enlightened, became the Sammasambuddha. And then another 45 years he gave the teachings, and then after 45 years, at the age of 80, at Kusinagara, he attained Mahabodhi. All happened on this same day, all three events. And some say even he received a prophecy from a future earlier Buddha to become a Sammasambuddha. That also happened on this day. From Buddha Dipankara, Buddha in the past, he received the prophecy, the blessings, that he shall become a Buddha in future. So all these events, now the question is, as we recollect this day, as we remember this day as Buddha Purnima or Buddha Jayanti, we recollect for what reason? We recollect because he has left us something. The Buddha has left something for us. What did he leave? He didn't leave us a very big house, a car, a lot of money, or nothing, none of those things. He left us a set of teachings, guidance, instructions. Basic. And he gave those teachings with a purpose. The purpose was to reduce our unhappiness, reduce our suffering, reduce our misery, reduce our discontentment. He gave these teachings for a purpose. As he was looking for an answer to human miseries and suffering, he went to teacher, learned meditation techniques, and also he was a very sharp and intuitive person, even as a person, from childhood itself. And as he went around looking for an answer, going place to place, he understood how the people behave, how they get stuck, how they suffer, how they cling, how they struggle. These things he understood to the deepest level. And then when he went to the Bodhi tree and sat down, then he went and then he saw not just the surface level, whatever can be seen, but also at a deeper psychological level, all these, and the root cause of all these, the ignorance and the craving, he could see. And then he eradicated them, ignorance and craving, to make his heart free from all impurities and free from all suffering. So as he gave these teachings after his enlightenment for 45 years, he was basically training us. Training us in what way? Training us to let go certain things. To let go certain things that causes our mind to be heavy and uncomfortable, that causes our miseries and discomfort and discontentment to increase. And he was also training us to cultivate certain other things that enhances our goodness, virtue, loving kindness, not just for the sake of enhancing, but for the sake of liberating our mind, making our mind at ease, free from burden. He understood the nature of the mind very clearly. The Buddha understood the nature of the mind, how it functions, very clearly. In fact, nobody has ever understood better than him in all these years. No teachers and philosophers or scientists or nobody. People are still, many scientists are still only to some extent appreciating or approving what the Buddha says now about our mind, about the nature of mind. For example, recently there has been some research, just giving an example. And some people were doing a scan of the brain of a person who was about to die. And they found out that the entire life, almost the entire life before passing away, flashes in front of us, mentally, not physically. They found out through this brain scan, recently, maybe a month back or so. So, and the Buddha said, whatever actions we do, this remains stored in our mind. And then at the moment of death, these actions, especially the stronger ones, they keep flashing, and the strongest one has the strongest impression on the mind at the moment of death. Now scientists, they are doing research and they have found similar evidence. Now maybe they have to do more research. So this is how the Buddha taught in a very scientific, very precise manner. And as he understood the mind, he understood we have this tendency to grasp at things through liking or through disliking. Through liking or through disliking, I say. When we like something too much, we grasp at it. When we dislike something too much, we grasp at it. Liking is easy to understand. You like, you want that to remain with you, or in that way exactly. But with disliking, yes. When you have a pain in the body, for example, now that you are sitting here, maybe you are experiencing some pain or discomfort when you are sitting. The mind goes there. But what does the mind go after going there? What does it do? It starts fighting and rejecting and struggling and resisting the pain. I don't really want this. I don't want this. I want it to go away. I want this to go away. So again it gets stuck. So the mind has this tendency, whatever it likes, it gets stuck there. Whatever it does not like, it gets stuck there. It gets stuck. That's the nature of the mind. And this Buddha very clearly understood as he observed and meditated and finally reached under the Bodhi tree, and when he went deeper and deeper into his mind through his meditation, he understood this. So, if mind is stuck, then mind is heavy. If the mind is heavy, then mind cannot be free from suffering. Simple. If somebody gives you a big bag, somebody invites you to their house. They have a big house, maybe your relatives or friends. They invite you, they say, come stay with us, we will take care of you, we will provide you all the comforts and luxuries. The best of food, the best of dwelling, comfort, will provide you the best of car and everything. But I just have one condition, you have to carry this big heavy bag with you all the time. Just this condition. You do this, we'll give whatever thing you want. You want the latest iPhone, we will give you. You want the latest gadget, we'll give you. You want the expensive car, we'll give you. But just carry this big bag. How long can you? You can't do it for too long. Sometimes, someday, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, then you are bored, you are tired, you are sick and tired of it. You say, no, good enough. I don't want your comfort, take your bag. I want to go. See? That's the thing with the burden of our mind. We have the burden of our mind. So, time to time we feel the discomfort. Time to time we feel our mind is not at ease. but our wisdom is not strong enough to penetrate into these uncomfortable feelings. To know this is what the Buddha was referring as discomfort, suffering, unsatisfactoriness. So to know this. So as I said, the Buddha was teaching us to let go certain things and to develop certain things. What was he telling us to let go? The things that makes our mind heavy. The things that makes our mind heavy, full of burden. For example, excessive greed, craving, attachment, obsession with anything or anyone or any person or any object, then that mind is heavy. So Buddha was telling, look here, you are obsessed with greed, look here, put things down, don't be like this. How do you start? Where do you start? So people have a lot of attachment to their material things, for example. My house, my car, my property, my children, this, that, so many things. So Buddha said, make a beginning here. Where do you begin? Begin with some level of generosity, openness of your heart. Begin here, make a beginning here. Learn to give and learn to share. When you learn to give and learn to share, then your mind will be at ease. All the time you wouldn't have to think, this is I, me, I want to use it for me. I don't want to share it with other people. I don't want other people to get benefit out of this, only for me and not for others. You don't have to think like this. You can be like, okay, this I can share with others. I can give something to other people. I can also have some, other people can also have some. What's the big deal? And when I give some, our mind is at ease. So he said, make a beginning here. He was telling us, let go of your greed. How do you begin? By being open and generous. This is how you will let go of all greed and attachment. Then, again he said, let go. Let go of what? Certain unwholesome tendencies that people cultivate or tend to cultivate. Not all people, but some people. Being violent, sometimes to the extent of being murderous, killing, taking others' property, stealing, or cheating, deceiving in some way or the other. And then you have not respecting one's relationships, committing misconduct, sexual misconduct or other kind of relationship misconduct, not being truthful enough, telling lies, living a life full of lies and deceit and all kinds of things, and then getting into alcohols and drugs and intoxicants. So this is what makes the life of common people, they tend to make their life miserable. So the Buddha was telling us, I'm telling you to let go of these habits. Instead you cultivate something better than this. What do you cultivate? You cultivate what you call the 5 precepts. Avoidance of killing, avoidance of stealing, avoidance of sexual misconduct, avoidance of lying, avoidance of alcohols and drugs and intoxicants. So that Buddha was telling us to let go of the bad habits. In the first place we said to let go of our greed and possessiveness by practicing openness, generosity. Then in the second place to practice the morality, moral precepts, virtues, good conduct, and let go of our bad habits or unwholesome tendencies which tends to cause us doing wrong things and suffer ultimately. Then he was telling us further, okay, this much if you have let go, then do a little more. What do you do more? Practice some meditation from time to time. Observe your mind, be aware, be mindful. Then you will know how the mental graspings happen. These generosity, morality, these are the things that loosen up our tightness of the mind to a great extent. But they are more concerned about our physical and verbal actions, aspects of our speech and aspects of our physical actions. but they are not so deeply connected with, they are connected but not so deeply connected with our mental process. So then the Buddha said, next step, you can let go. What do you let go? These tendencies, unwholesome mental tendencies, the sticky craving that is within our heart. And how do you let go? Gradually, not one day, not like suddenly one day you wake up and you are able to let go all of it. But then you make a beginning by starting to learn and practice a little bit of meditation every day. And as you keep doing, along with the generosity, dana and morality, sila, then your mind has a good support base. Then as you practice, your mind gains calmness, peacefulness. Not just calmness and peacefulness, your mind gains wisdom, knowing. Knowing where the sticky craving works, how it enhances our suffering. Knowing. Knowing a little bit every time you do. You need not learn everything at one go. You cannot learn everything at one go. See, it isn't possible. It isn't possible. So how do you do? You do like this, by practicing meditation, trying to understand. So when you do like this, generosity and morality and meditation, then you loosen up. You loosen up your mind. You make it flexible, you make it workable, you make it light and peaceful. This is where our happiness begins. And as you keep doing, it keeps getting better and better. There's no miracle about it. There's no instant something about it. It's just like how it works, gradually. Gradually it works, gradually it develops. But then we need to keep doing. All Buddha was expecting us to be is sincere towards the teachings. He wasn't expecting, okay, I have given you these teachings are so wonderful, they can lead you up to enlightenment, so you owe me a great deal, or you must respect me in this way or that way. He wasn't expecting anything. He wasn't such a teacher. He was free from all those expectations. His mind was fully free. But then all he was telling us, out of compassion I am giving you how to loosen up your heart, how to walk towards wisdom and enlightenment. Just follow this. Just keep doing. As you keep doing, someday you do a little more, someday you do a little less, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. As you begin, when a person starts reading or writing, a child, they make a lot of mistakes. It's fine. Fine to make a few mistakes here and there. At the beginning, it's fine to make a few mistakes. But then, if the child is diligent, then they learn. Then they learn ABCD also, then they learn big sentences also. They end up learning a lot more. You see? Only thing is being diligent about it. So that's what the Buddha was encouraging us to do. Remain diligent here. Don't be negligent. And that was the last advice, even just before attaining Mahaparinibbana. That was the last thing he said. This is the last time I'm speaking to you. This is the last time I'm speaking to you. And what I am saying, all conditioned things are subject to change and decay. So strive diligently, make effort diligently for your own liberation. This is my last advice to you. Appamadena sampadeta. Strive with diligence. This is my last advice. That's all. So, this is how we loosen up through the practice of generosity, morality, meditation. We loosen up our mind. We loosen up and we gain peacefulness, we gain wisdom, and finally we gain liberation. So this is what the Buddha was telling us to let go. Things that burden us up, that puts burden on our mind. Let go. Let go in a specific way. Not haphazardly, not randomly. Where the greed is there, start with generosity. Where the unwholesome habits and tendencies are there, start with morality. Where the mental cravings and obsessions are there, start with meditation. This is how we let go, step by step. in a precise manner. So this is what we recollect on this occasion. This should be our recollection, because the Buddha was telling us to uphold, to practice, to be sincere about our Dhamma practice. That's all. He wasn't telling us to do anything else. Just this much. So if we can do this much, then we are paying our respect. If you can do more than this, it's wonderful. But if you can do at least this much, uphold the teachings in your life, then you are doing wonderful. Then you are following the Buddha correctly. Then you be happy about it. Yes, I am doing sincerely, I am following correctly. So this is what we recollect on this day, and not just on this day. This is a day to recollect, because this is the day all these events happen, and this is the day, if we remember this day, then it's easy to remember the teachings also. But not just this day, but all days, because your goodness, your generosity, your morality, your wisdom, meditation, it doesn't grow outside of your mind. It grows in your mind. And your mind stays with you all day, whole night. Today also it stays with you, tomorrow also it stays with you, day after tomorrow also it stays with you. So it starts with our mind. So we have to make a beginning here. We have to make a beginning with our own mind. So this is the recollection. This is the recollection that we can do today. And this is the recollection that we can do tomorrow and day after and all days till our last breath. Because this kind of recollection and this kind of practice will always enhance our peacefulness and happiness and well-being. It will never diminish or cause us discomfort, or never diminish our well-being or happiness or peacefulness. So this is a good practice then. So this much we offer to you today on this special occasion for your practice and for your recollection. May you all remember, and may you all be able to put these things into practice and keep doing it again and again, and get better and walk towards complete purification of your mind up to the attainment of liberation. We conclude our discourse here. If anyone has any question, then they may ask. If anyone has any question, then they may ask. Yes, please, can you be a little louder maybe? Or maybe come in front?
Hello.
Okay.
So we carry a lot of responsibilities in our family lives on day-to-day basis. It is, everybody wants to be detached and be at peace, but there are certain things in our lives which we can't really ignore, and they carry with us, and they do get heavy on day-to-day basis. So how do we, though we understand what you're saying, though I read every day in these scriptures, but how do I follow?
There are two things here, One thing is, you can make a beginning where you are. You must make a beginning where you are. We can always say, this is like this, I have obligations. So, when I said being generous means you can be generous to your own family members, right? You can be helpful to your own family members to start with. You can start with your own family members, not with other people, just your immediate family members. So that is also a practice. When you are being generous, being good natured, being virtuous, having a mind of compassion, starting with your family members. You can expand it later on to other people, but make a beginning within your family. Then you can see, at least to some level, your mind will be at ease. So make a beginning wherever you are. Don't expect, sometimes people, with all good intentions, they have many big plans. I want to do like this, I want to do in this way or in that way. That's all fine. But we must understand wherever we are, if we are able, for example, somebody has a small house and that house may be leaking, rain is coming in, water is coming inside. Now you may have a big plan, grand plan to make a big house. But then as of now you must repair your old small house. You can't neglect that. We should not neglect that, because then we have neither the big house and we have a house which is leaking and which will crumble down. See? So make a beginning where you are. So all these qualities, it's being detached means, exactly, people sometimes tend to understand, Buddha said, being detached. They don't really understand the context. When we say being detached, means being detached from our mental defilements, which makes our mind heavy. For example, if we aren't able to maintain a good relationship with our family members, then that's a place to begin. That's just a place to begin. And similarly, if we aren't being helpful enough to our own family members or relatives or friends or other people, that's just a place to make a beginning. So make a beginning wherever you are. Don't expect a grand beginning. Make a beginning there. And then there's the first point. And then there's a second point, as you say. It's good that you recognize, at least you recognize this much, that it becomes heavy. Keep in your mind this understanding of heaviness. Why do I say like this? Keep in your mind, this is very preliminary, very basic, but this is important to understand the true nature of life. That no matter how much we do these good things, still the nature of the phenomena, nature of the world itself, it tends to be heavy after a certain time. Whether it is our relationship, whether it is our life or job or profession, our relationship with other people, whatever it is, it tends to be heavy. So recognize that heaviness in everything that you do. This is what the Buddha said in a much deeper level, of course. The first noble truth, the noble truth of unsatisfactoriness, all conditioned phenomena, whether it is our family or relationship or job or success or failure, everything, our body, our mind, everything, ultimately unsatisfactory. So when you understand, every time it appears in your mind, this is heavy, recognize it. Don't hate it. Recognize it. Take it as a piece of your experiential wisdom. Every time you are able to recognize, this is good recognition. If the Buddha was here, he would have said, this is a good recognition, this is a good beginning. To understand, to be able to understand that yes, no matter how much we do, it will still be heavy. So this, you make a beginning where you are. We don't have to have an expectation of a grand beginning. We can be good, we can be generous, we can be helpful. Now say, for example, we all monks live here. So many monks. All the time, all the monks are not doing everything perfectly. Not doing perfectly. It's possible. It's natural. But then what do? Do we start hating each other? Do we start beating each other, abusing each other all the time? Then does it look like a monastery? It looks like a battleground then. You see? Around 40 monks fighting with each other all the time. Then it looks like a battleground. It doesn't look like a monastery. But it looks like a monastery. Why? Because we recognize people make mistake, but then we can always improve. So we have the loving kindness. We have, and whatever we get, we try to share all the monks. It's even if it is a small thing, to the highest possible extent, we try to share everything amongst ourselves. So we can always make a beginning wherever we are. We try to have the loving kindness to each other. Be elders to the youngest, youngest to the elders. So we do things wherever we are. We don't expect an idealistic situation. There is, when we run the monastery, when we are in a monastery, so many monks together, we cannot be absolutely detached. See? We have to run things. If somebody, everything is falling apart, we have to repair them. We have to repair them. Something needs to fix up, we have to fix them. So when the Buddha was telling, be detached, he was not telling don't do things. He was telling do things, but don't be obsessed with them. So when we do the repair, we do the repair. When we talk to each other and maybe elders advise the younger ones, they advise in a manner to make them understand what is wrong, what is right. But we also recognize tomorrow another problem may arise. So this may not be the end of it all. So we don't need to be frustrated or irritated or anything. So this is how we begin. Wherever we are, we begin. So it's not that sometimes people tend to think if monks are living, so many monks are living in the monastery, then they will be living perfectly. That's not the case. There are mistakes. Sometimes mistakes happen. But then we don't create a situation to enhance it. We create a situation to reduce it every day. This is where we do, that's how we do. So two things. One is to continue your practice wherever you are. Do your things, but do your things with a mind of letting go. That's all. And second thing is to be able to recognize the heaviness of all things. That's all. Are you clear on this?
Hello, sir. Good evening. I have a very serious question or maybe an emotional question. Okay. So, I've been going through a very serious problem since my childhood. Okay. So, I have issues with my anxiety, and there are certain things that I've been through in the past. And unfortunately, things are going really well, I would say. But because of the things that happened in the past, I'm really spoiling my present. And I really need some help to get over this.
You must understand, the past isn't something that we can go back. But then we don't understand it like this, right? Do we really understand it? Most people, do we really understand it like this? We don't. We don't. We tend to go back to those things, this was so wonderful, or this was so horrible, It keeps on happening. That's why we learn a bit of meditation. Why? When we don't learn or practice meditation, we have no head and tail about our mind. Whatever appears in our mind, whatever thoughts and feelings and emotions appear, we think this is I, this is me, this is my mind. But in reality, all these things, as I was teaching meditation, I mentioned also, our awareness is one thing, our mental objects are another. They are just passing phenomena. So your remembrance of the past also is a passing phenomena. Not like really, can you really just think about it? Some of the things that happened in the past may be not good, but can you remember all of a whole day long only that much and nothing else? Is it possible to do? Is it? No, I don't think so. From morning till evening, you just think only one thing and nothing else. Something else will come. So we don't really have that much of mindfulness. But as we meditate, so that's why I would suggest you to learn some meditation. To come here regularly, and whenever monks find time, they will teach you meditation. And Sundays also, anyway, Sundays we have programs, you can come and learn. So as you practice practice meditation, you have some clarity. That clarity is whatever appears and as your mental suffering is just a mental phenomena, not a mental suffering, but a mental phenomena. And we stick to it. As I was teaching here, we stick to things. I think I just mentioned sometimes. We stick to things that we like. We stick to things that we do not like. Not just the things that we like, even to the things that we do not like. We tend to go back to them. This wasn't good. Why did it happen? It should not have happened. It should have happened otherwise, you see. So, then we stick to them. So, as we keep meditating, this stickiness of the mind goes away gradually. Then it doesn't stick so hard. Maybe it sticks a little. I'm not saying suddenly one day everything will disappear. No, it's not like that. But as we keep doing, this stickiness of the mind, getting stuck here, getting stuck there, that will reduce bit by bit. Then you are able to recognize. Now, in your position, it is difficult to be able to recognize that this is just something of the past that doesn't exist anymore. But as the stickiness goes away, then mind will recognize this is just a mental phenomenon, not really me or not really my mind. It's just a mental phenomena that comes and goes, comes and goes. I don't need to be obsessed with it. So there's no instant solution that I will tell you something and all your mental suffering will go away. It is not like this. But you have to recognize these things, what I just said. You have to recognize these things at your experiential level. And for that you have to learn some meditation. So if you are able to find time, then come and learn and practice also at home, and then things will get better for you, I guess. Surely it will get better for you, because anybody who has tried sincerely, being diligent enough, they have improved. So you can also, there's no miracle that other people can do, you cannot. It's not like that. If other people can do, you can also do. Simple enough. So it's possible.
Thank you so much.
Namaste Guruji. I don't know how to
Yeah,
say
okay.
you.
Yes.
Basically, my spiritual journey has just begun, and it began with two factors basically. One being curious, and the other being patterns. So I was curious to know why people are running towards moksha or nirvana or anything that they call it, give it a name. And also that I started observing so many patterns, surrounding me. So how are these two factors helpful for me to grow ahead, or is it hindering me, my knowledge and my peace at some level? So can you just shed some light on that?
Being curious is a good thing. We should try to learn. Buddha was telling us. In fact, Buddha always encouraged people who ask questions. He was one teacher who would say, ask me as many questions. Even just before his passing away, he told people, all his disciples, if you have a question now that I am still there, ask the question. Whatever doubt you have, ask me. So he will always encourage questions. So being curious is a good thing, trying to learn. Nothing bad about it. So that is not spiritually. In fact, Buddha said, people who ask a lot of questions are willing to know, willing to explore. They tend to be wiser at a later point of time. So keep your curiosity, but keep it in a right track. Just not like a random, haphazard way. So, especially in the teachings of the Buddha, we aren't concerned about a whole lot of things. Is the world eternal? Is the world not eternal? There are so many questions people ask, but we don't really bother about them. Whether the world is eternal or non-eternal, if these things, there are similar things. We still have suffering. How do we make an end of this? That was exactly the Buddha was trying to find out. How do we make an end of our suffering? Whether this happens, whether this will happen, this that will not happen, is one thing. Our problem, we have a problem. We have a problem that is exactly the lady was referring. The heaviness of mind tends to be heavy. How do we put down this heaviness? A little bit of it and all of it finally. So when we say liberation, nibbana, in Pali we say nibbana or in nirvana you can say. This is nothing but being free. The heaviness is gone away from the mind. It will not come back to our mind anymore. Why has it gone away? Why has it gone away? Because the causes of those heaviness, what causes that heaviness to persist, to stick to the mind, the cause is gone away. What is that cause? Ignorance. Not knowing the nature of this body and mind correctly, not knowing the nature of our existence correctly, not knowing our actions correctly. So this is what causes the ignorance. So and when the ignorance is there, then there is either liking or disliking. Whatever the liking is or the disliking is, the mind it gets stuck somewhere and it becomes heavy. So this cause is gone, the ignorance and the craving is gone, so the heaviness is gone. This is what we call enlightenment. Freedom from ignorance and craving. So this is the enlightenment is all about, nothing else. There's nothing esoteric about it. Buddha was a very practical person. He taught everything up to enlightenment in a very practical, precise way. And we also experience at some level that yes, this is the real thing. Sometimes people tend to, in the name of so-called liberation, tend to think so many things and so many esoteric or other things. None of this. It's just destruction of all ignorance and craving, destruction of all greed, hatred and ignorance. When the liking is gone, when the disliking is gone, when the ignorance is gone, then the mind has no burden. It doesn't stick to good things, it doesn't stick to bad things either. It doesn't stick to anything. When it doesn't stick to anything, then it is heavy, not heavy, it is free. There is no burden left. This is all about liberation. So you remain your curiosity. Keep your curiosity, but channelize your curiosity in a way which helps you to explore your wisdom. Not just what is this, what is that. Of course, initially mind tends to be explored, what I want to know about this, I want to know about, there's nothing wrong about this. But then, at least this point you must reflect upon. Whatever you learn, today you have learned something, tomorrow you have learned something else, you may go to some other teacher or some other philosophy or some other thing you learn. Does it really reduce the heaviness of my mind or does it not? This is what your main point that you must go back to and ask yourself. Anybody, true spiritual seeker would seek like this. Does it happen like this? Does it not? If it is happening, then it is good. If it is not happening, anything else is happening, but this is not happening, maybe this isn't good enough. So we should practice like this. Are you clear on this?
Good evening.
Okay, somebody has a question. Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
So my question is that when we meditate, there is conversations going in the mind. So how do we quiet or handle that conversations?
We don't suppress them. One fundamental thing about meditation is not suppressing anything. Recognizing whatever is there and putting them down. Putting it down. So thoughts and mental conversations or whatever, agitations or restlessness or whatever it appears, we recognize them. This is agitation, this is like this is like that. And then we put it down. Okay, I can put it down. This isn't so important. None of these things are so important. No? Whatever we think, if it was so important, if it was so life-changing, then you would have been enlightened by this time. It wasn't. It never was. It is never. So that's why we recognize, okay, this is just a small trifle thing, I can put it down. There's no need to be obsessed about this. There's no need to make my heavy at this time, at least when I am trying to practice meditation, be at ease. putting my mind at ease. So you make a beginning like this, and then as you keep doing, it keeps getting better. But it's all about the secret of the success is consistency. There is no other secret of the success. So people say, I cannot meditate, it is so like this. If they are sincerely doing every day, little by little, surely they will improve. There is no magic about it. But if they are doing once in a while and then they are not doing at all, then they will never improve. So that's the only thing. Being diligent, being sincere about your practice. That's the only thing. Every day do little. Don't be negligent, that's all.
It's practice, only practice can get it better.
Yes.
Okay.
Vannami Vantaji. My name is Manav Parekh and I've been meditating for the past 1.5 years or around 2 years now. Whenever I try to do the breathing meditation or anapanasati, my breath tends to slip to my mouth.
But can you observe it in your mouth?
But it's uncomfortable.
Then maybe you can observe it, maybe for some time you can observe, if you can observe it in your belly, like the rise and fall of your stomach. Can you try that?
I will, Bhante.
You can try that? You have you?
No.
So you can
Been
try
advised
that.
to do that.
As the in-breath goes in, the stomach expands a little, and the breath goes out, stomachs reduce a little. So you can stay with that rise and fall for some time. That might be helpful to make your mind more peaceful. So you can try that.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Anyone else has any questions?
Pranam Guruji. If someone wants to begin the what Buddha said, how we start, how we begin the what Buddha said.
You attended the discourse now? Did you attend the discourse or you just came?
Yeah, I just because of today Buddha Purnima, no? So
No,
that
no.
was
Did you attend the discourse I just gave?
no Guruji, I didn't attend.
Exactly. It was all about how to make a beginning. Where we begin, how we begin.
We listening what Buddha says and we are reading, but how we implement and how we begin.
So we start like this very briefly. Maybe we'll upload this on the YouTube. You can listen to it later. But I'm just telling you very briefly. That's what all the discourse was all about ultimately. So we make a beginning with for example, if we have a lot of greed or attachment, we share things with people to reduce it. Do the opposite of things. Just do the opposite of things. If we have certain bad habits, just do the opposite. Let go of those bad habits and reduce something good instead of those bad habits. And as you are not able to meditate, your mind is restless, just do the opposite. Let go of the restlessness and try to make your mind peaceful through practice of meditation. So, how do you begin is wherever you are right now, you have to assess that. You have to assess that wherever you are. I have this problem. This tendency is strong in me. So start doing what is opposite of it. Whatever wrong tendency or unwholesome tendency we have to cut it down there. By cultivating something opposite of it. So if we have a lot of aversion or hatred, or we tend to get angry, irritated, then we practice loving kindness. So like this, do the opposite of where your mind gets stuck. Start and make a beginning. Maybe it will be good if you can come regularly and learn about meditation, learn about teachings. It will be helpful for you. So all these things suddenly, if you keep doing and learning, it becomes better. Now suddenly one day there is no instant solution to this. So we have to keep learning and doing about it.
Guruji, can you tell me all the teachings of the Buddha in one sentence?
Not one sentence, but
Ultimate.
this is what the Buddha said. Simple. To avoid all evil tendencies, wrong tendencies, bad tendencies, bad actions. Cultivate good things instead of those evil things. Sabba papa sakaranam kusalasya upasampada. Avoid the evil, do the good instead, and cultivate your mind through meditation. This is the sum and substance of all the teachings the Buddha gave. That's all.
Namaste Guruji. So people say like life is like a race, you should run. So the moment when we born on the earth, we should start run till the death. So in this process of race, people say that everyone has a purpose of life. You should find your purpose of life. And in the process of finding purpose of life, we suffer a lot because in achieving something, we always attach to that thing. And people say that we should not attach, and many saints also teaches that we should not attach to the work that we have done. Like nishkama karma, we should always, follow nishkama karma. So what Buddha says about that? Like, is there any purpose for life that one should find? Like, and what Buddha says about sufferings while we are achieving something, how to avoid the sufferings.
Buddha's whole teaching is all about suffering, its cause and its ending and the path. These four things, that's all. What is all about our suffering as humans, beings or other beings, how the suffering arises because of certain mental tendencies or our mental defilements, how we can let it go and be free from suffering, and what is the path to do it. This is all what we call the Four Noble Truths. So this is the main sum and substance of the teachings. But people will tell you a lot of things. Your family members will tell you a lot of things. Your friends will tell you a lot of things. Your colleagues will tell you a lot of things. So many things will tell you a lot of things. Your relatives and friends and others. So many people. But important thing is what you recognize within your mind as light or as heavy. Whatever heavy you feel, you recognize it as heavy. Whatever light you feel, you recognize it as light. For example, you help somebody. Any person. Known person, unknown person, doesn't matter. Or you say kind words, some kind words. Look into your mind, is it heavy or light? Look into your mind, don't go by my words, don't go by anybody's words. Look into your mind, is it light or heavy? Another time you say something harsh, abusive. Look into your mind, is it heavy or light? So, this is the yardstick. Our mind can tell us. Our mind can tell us what is appropriate, what is not. Because mind tends to, when things are appropriate, then it is light. If things are not appropriate, it is heavy. That is universal law. Whether you are literate person or illiterate person, rich person, poor person, doesn't matter. This is universal for all people. This is the nature of the mind itself. Things which are good and proper, mind tends to be light. Things are not good and right or proper or inappropriate, mind tends to be heavy. So check with your mind. So whenever you say, I want to achieve this, and then you become obsessed with your so-called goal, and then you check your mind, is it light or heavy? Check it. So check it every time you have confusion, because your mind may have the answer. Most of the time, if we are able to read the language that our mind tells us, then we are able to understand most of the things. But then we don't train ourselves to read those things. We train ourselves to read a lot of books and external things, but we don't train ourselves to read our own mind. And other people cannot read our mind, right? Even if they read our mind, they cannot change our mind. We only have to change it. No? So make a beginning like this. So don't go by just, no need to blindly follow other people. This is your purpose, okay, I will do like this. This is not your purpose, okay, I will not do like this. Don't have to be like this. Check your mind, is it really light or heavy? Then gradually the answers will appear. And I would also suggest you to learn a little more about the teachings of the Buddha and also learn about a bit of meditation to be more able to recognize and understand things at a deeper level. Today we have many questions. That's good. I guess we have to switch it on, I guess. Or is the battery gone?
Guruji, there are 540 Jataka stories are there in Buddhism. I would like to ask, are they part and parcel of Theravada or later editions of Mahayana and Vajrayana?
In Theravada also we accept them. So we have Jataka books in Theravada texts.
All these 540 are there in Theravada scriptures also, or some additions in Mahayana and later Vajrayana?
552 in Theravada.
550. So that means not much change in Mahayana, Vajrayana. They have continued whatever they were in Vajrayana, Theravada.
I think so.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? So if no questions, then we will conclude here today's Buddha Purnima evening program with the chanting of loving kindness. Sukhi bhave yani dukha aham echam aham miya pita cha do ma jata acharino vimani gama ketami Satanto sukhi sada tato paranchara jesu chakavale sujantano sadhu sadhu sadhu. So here we conclude, and then again as usual next Sunday we'll have the Sunday evening discourse from 6 to 7. Every Sunday we'll have the same.